Picture this: a world framed in glass where every reflection is a reminder of what's missing. My name is Jasmine, and at 61, I've learned that time doesn't just slip away, it carves hollows where dreams used to live. I'm married to Cole, a man whose name carries weight in boardrooms and beyond, a successful businessman who built an empire I can only watch from the sidelines. We live in a sleek, modern skyscraper apartment, perched high above a metropolis that never sleeps. Our home is a study in sharp edges and cold beauty, floor-to-ceiling glass walls that capture the city lights at night, turning them into a kaleidoscope of distant lives I'll never touch. In the mornings, the hum of an expensive espresso machine fills the kitchen, a mechanical heartbeat in an otherwise lifeless space. But it's the silence between Cole and me that weighs the heaviest, a fog so thick it muffles even the thought of connection. I often catch myself staring at my own reflection in those glass walls, wondering who that woman is. I'm not sure when I became a decorative piece in Cole's world, a backdrop at his business dinners where I smile on cue, my presence as polished and empty as the crystal wine glasses on the table. I nod at the right moments, laugh when expected, but inside, I'm invisible, even to myself. Cole and I don't fight. There's no energy for that. But we don't touch either. Not anymore. There's a void between us, a cold distance I've wrapped myself in like a familiar coat. I've grown used to it over the years, though I can't say it doesn't ache sometimes, late at night when the city's hum is the only sound keeping me company. Cole is a force, a commanding figure who runs a powerful company with an iron grip. I won't bore you with the details of his work. Not yet, anyway. What I will say is that he's the kind of man who fills a room just by stepping into it. His suits are always sharp, tailored to perfection, and his smiles are calculated, meant to disarm or dominate, depending on the situation. When I watch him, I see authority etched into every line of his face, every gesture. But I also see echoes of a past I can't quite reach anymore, a time when there was warmth in his eyes instead of just focus. I don't linger on those memories, though. They're too slippery, too painful to hold on to for long. Then there's Archer, Cole's business partner, someone I've met only a handful of times at those endless corporate events. He's an enigma. The kind of person who doesn't say much but still manages to unsettle you. It's in his eyes, I think, piercing, like they're peeling back layers you didn't even know you had. There's a quiet intensity to him that lingers in the air long after he's gone. Though I can't quite put my finger on why he makes me feel so on edge. Maybe it is I was standing by the window in our apartment, the city lights flickering like a sea of restless stars below, when my phone buzzed sharply against the silence. It was late, far past the hour when casual calls come through, and the name on the screen sent a jolt through me. Cole. I answered, pressing the phone to my ear, and his voice cut through the quiet like a blade. "Jasmine, I need you to come to the office. Now. We need to talk." There was no warmth, no explanation, just that clipped urgency I've rarely heard from him. My stomach twisted, a mix of curiosity and dread knotting together. Cole doesn't rattle easily. Whatever this was, it wasn't small. I managed a shaky, "Okay, I'm on my way," before the line went dead, leaving me with nothing but the hum of the city outside and a racing pulse. I moved quickly, shrugging into a tailored coat that felt more like armor than fabric. Catching my reflection in the hallway mirror, I paused. The lines on my face seemed deeper tonight, etched by years of unspoken things, and my eyes held a weariness I couldn't shake. I looked like someone bracing for a storm, and maybe I was. I turned away, grabbing my bag, and headed for the elevator. The descent from our high-rise felt endless, each floor ticking by like a countdown to something I couldn't name. The polished steel walls of the elevator reflected a distorted version of myself, and I couldn't help but feel like I was plunging into the unknown, the hum of the machinery echoing the unease in my chest. Stepping out into the cool night air, I made my way to Cole's office building in the financial district, a towering structure of glass and steel that loomed like a monolith against the dark sky. The streets were nearly empty at this hour, save for the occasional cab slicing through the quiet, and the city felt caught between life and a ghostly stillness. Neon signs blinked in the distance, casting fleeting shadows on the pavement, and every step I took seemed to echo louder than it should. My mind raced as I walked, questions piling up like debris in a storm. Why the urgency? Was this about us? About the chasm that's grown between us over the years? Or was it his business, some crisis I'd only hear about in fragments later? Or, God forbid, something worse. Something I couldn't even imagine yet. I pulled my coat tighter around me, the chill of the night seeping into my bones, mirroring the cold uncertainty inside. When I reached the building, the lobby greeted me with its polished marble floors and sterile elegance, the kind of space that feels more like a museum than a place where people live and breathe. The security guard gave me a curt nod as I signed in, his face unreadable, and I stepped into the elevator bound for the 47th floor. The ride up was smooth, almost too quiet, the faint hum of the machinery the only sound as the numbers climbed. My heart was pounding by the time the elevator doors slid open with a soft chime, revealing the dimly lit corridor leading to Cole's office. The air up here felt different, heavier somehow, like it was charged with secrets waiting to spill. I walked down the hallway, my heels clicking against the polished floor, each sound amplifying the tension knotting in my chest. When I reached the door, I hesitated, my hand hovering over the handle. Whatever was on the other side, I knew it would change things. I took a deep breath and pushed it open. Inside, I didn't find Cole waiting for me as I'd expected. Instead, there was Archer, sitting on a sleek leather couch in the center of the room, one arm draped casually over the backrest. The city lights poured through the glass walls, casting fractured patterns across the space, glinting off the whiskey glass he held in his other hand. I stopped in my tracks, confusion mixing with that familiar unease his presence always stirred in me. He looked up, his piercing gaze locking onto mine, and a faint smirk tugged at the corner of his mouth. "Jasmine," he said, his voice smooth as silk. "Cole thought I should keep you company until he gets here. Care for a drink?" I nodded, more out of instinct than desire, and he gestured to the couch beside him. I crossed the room, feeling the weight of his stare as I sat down, the leather cool against my skin. He handed me a glass of whiskey, the amber liquid catching the light, and I took a small sip, the burn grounding me for a moment. The silence between us stretched, taut, electric, like a wire about to snap. Outside, the city sprawled endlessly, a glittering maze of lives I'd never know, and those glass walls seemed to press in, reflecting slivers of us in distorted echoes. Archer's presence was a paradox, comforting in its familiarity, yet predatory in a way I couldn't quite name. It was so different from Cole's cold detachment, and that difference made my pulse quicken in ways I hadn't felt in years. He shifted slightly, his knee brushing mine, and leaned in just enough for me to catch the faint scent of his cologne, sharp and intoxicating. "You know," he began, his tone cryptic, almost teasing. "Cole's said things about you, things you might not expect." My grip tightened on the glass, the whiskey trembling slightly as my heart raced. "What kind of things?" I asked, my voice quieter than I meant it to be. Archer's smirk deepened, his eyes never leaving mine. "He can't touch you, but he wants to see me do it." The words hit me like a physical blow, stealing the air from my lungs. My mind spun, grappling with what he meant. Was this some twisted game? A test of loyalty? Fear coiled tight in my chest, but beneath it, there was something else. A forbidden curiosity I didn't want to acknowledge. Before I could find words, Archer's hand moved, brushing against my knee with a deliberate slowness that sent a shiver up my spine. His fingers lingered, tracing a path under the hem of my dress, the touch both invasive and electric, slipping between silk and skin. My breath caught, trapped somewhere between shock and a longing I hadn't let myself feel in decades. I should have pulled away, should have stood up and demanded answers, but I didn't. I couldn't. My body betrayed me, frozen in the moment, torn between the loyalty I'd clung to for so long and a desperate, aching need to feel something, anything, beyond the numbness that had defined my life with Cole. Every nerve seemed to ignite under his touch, and I hated myself for the way my resolve crumbled so easily. What happened next shattered everything I thought I knew about myself. Right there, on that couch in Cole's office, under the cold glow of the city skyline, I gave in. I betrayed Cole in a way I never imagined I could. It was a collision of guilt and rebellion, a reckless abandon that consumed me. Archer's hands were everywhere, claiming what wasn't his, and I let him. The glass walls stood as silent witnesses, reflecting fragments of our tangled forms. I'm sitting on the couch now, the leather still cool beneath me, but it feels like it's burning into my skin. My mind is a storm, a chaotic swirl of guilt, fear, and confusion that I can't escape. What have I done? The weight of it presses down on me, heavier than I can bear, as I stare at the empty space where Archer was just moments ago. He's gone now, slipped away into the shadows of the office without a word, leaving me alone with the wreckage of my choices. My hands tremble as I smooth out the fabric of my dress, trying to erase the evidence of what just happened. But I can't erase the feeling. It clings to me, a mix of shame and something darker, something I don't want to name. Cole stands before me, having arrived just after Archer disappeared. He's holding a tablet under his arm, the screen dark but somehow ominous, like it holds secrets I'm not ready to face. His expression is unreadable, a mask of stone that gives nothing away. Those sharp eyes of his, the ones that used to look at me with something like warmth, now seem to dissect me, peeling back layers I've spent years hiding. I open my mouth to speak, to explain, to beg for forgiveness, but the words choke in my throat. All I can manage is a whisper, barely audible, trembling with the uncertainty that's eating me alive. What now? His response sends a shiver down my spine, cold and sharp as a winter wind. Now it's your turn to sit in the shadows and watch. The words hang in the air, heavy with meaning I can't quite grasp. My heart pounds so hard I'm sure he can hear it, a frantic drumbeat echoing in the silence of the office. I clutch the edge of the couch, my knuckles whitening as I try to steady myself. What does he mean by that? Is it a threat? Some kind of punishment for what I've done? Or is it a game? A twisted continuation of whatever sick dynamic has been playing out tonight? I search his face for answers, for any hint of what's behind those cryptic words. But there's nothing. Just that impenetrable gaze, watching me like I'm a puzzle he's already solved. My thoughts spiral back to our marriage, to the life we've built, or maybe the life he's built around me. I think of the early days, those fleeting moments of tenderness that seem like a dream now. I remember the way he'd hold my hand under the table at crowded dinners, a quiet reassurance that I wasn't alone. The way his laughter used to fill a room, warm and genuine, before it became a tool, a weapon in negotiations. But those memories are overshadowed by the coldness of recent years, the way he's drifted further and further away until I'm nothing more than a fixture in his world. Was this always part of who he is? A man who manipulates, who orchestrates from the sidelines, watching others dance to his tune? Have I been a pawn all along, caught in a game I didn't even know I was playing? The thought makes my stomach churn, a sickening realization that I might never have truly known the man I married. I'm pulled from my thoughts as Cole steps back, his movements deliberate, almost theatrical. He gestures toward the adjoining room, the one Archer slipped into just before Cole arrived. "Go on," he says, his voice calm, almost encouraging, but there's an undercurrent of menace that makes my skin crawl. "See for yourself." My breath catches, a lump forming in my throat as I try to process what he's asking. See what? What's waiting for me in there? Is this another layer of his control, another test I'm doomed to fail? My legs feel unsteady as I stand, the weight of his words pressing down on me like a physical force. I don't want to know what's behind that door, but I can't stop myself. It's like I'm being pulled forward by an invisible thread, tied to Cole's will, to the secrets he's dangling just out of reach. I take a step, then another, my heels clicking against the polished floor with a hollow sound that reverberates through the empty space. My hand trembles as I reach for the handle of the adjoining room, the cold metal biting into my palm. I push the door open, and the dim light spills out, revealing a small, stark space that feels like a confession booth for sins I didn't know I'd committed. There, at a small desk tucked against the wall, sits Archer. He doesn't turn to look at me, his focus locked on a laptop screen glowing with an eerie, artificial light. My breath hitches as I step closer, drawn in despite the dread pooling in my gut. The screen shows a live feed, crisp and unforgiving, of another room somewhere in this labyrinth of a building. It's an office, much like the one I just left, with the same cold elegance, glass walls, sleek furniture, a view of the city that feels like a taunt. And there, in the center of the frame, is a woman I've never seen before. She's sitting, waiting, her posture tense, her eyes darting around as if she senses something is off. Just like I did. My stomach lurches, a wave of nausea crashing over me as the realization hits like a punch. This isn't just about me. It never was. Archer finally glances up, his expression as neutral as a blank slate, devoid of any guilt or remorse. "It's your turn to watch," he says, his voice low, almost mechanical, as if he's recited these words 100 times before. The pieces snap into place with a sickening clarity. Cole has orchestrated this entire nightmare, not just with me, but with others. Countless others, maybe. This is his game, his twisted way of exerting control, of feeding some dark, hidden hunger that I can't begin to understand. I'm not special, not unique in his eyes. I'm just another player on his board, moved into position for his amusement. I step closer to the screen, unable to stop myself, even as bile rises in my throat. My hands are shaking so badly I have to grip the edge of the desk to steady myself. On the feed, the door to that other office opens and Cole steps in. His movements are deliberate, that same calculated calm I've seen 1,000 times, the one he used on me when he first summoned me here tonight. He approaches the woman with a predator's grace, his presence filling the room even through the grainy feed. She looks up at him, her expression a mirror of my own earlier confusion and unease. I can't tear my eyes away, even though every fiber of my being is screaming at me to run, to escape this suffocating web I've been caught in. It's like watching a car crash in slow motion. You know it's going to end in disaster, but you're powerless to stop it. My voice breaks the silence, raw and jagged, as I turn to Archer. How long has this been going on? I demand, my words trembling with a mix of anger and horror. How many others have there been? He doesn't flinch, doesn't even blink, just leans back in his chair with a cold detachment that chills me to the bone. Years, he says simply, as if he's discussing the weather. Cole thrives on this, watching, controlling. He never touches, though. That's not his style. The words hit me like a slap, each one sinking deeper into the pit of my stomach. Years. This has been happening for years, and I've been blind to it, wrapped up in my own loneliness, my own quiet misery. I've been nothing more than a piece in his puzzle, a pawn in a game I didn't even know existed until tonight. The nausea surges again, and I press a hand to my mouth, trying to hold myself together as the room spins around me. I think of all the times I've sat across from Cole at dinner, searching his face for some sign of the man I married, some flicker of the warmth we once shared. I think of the nights I've lain awake, wondering why he pulled away, why he built this wall of ice between us. And now I know, it wasn't just distance. It was this. This I can't stand to watch anymore. The flickering screen, the cold detachment in Archer's voice, the calculated cruelty in Cole's every move. It's too much. My legs feel like they might give out beneath me, but I force myself to turn away, to step back from the desk and the horrifying truth it holds. I don't say another word to Archer. There's nothing left to say. My mind is a whirlwind of disgust and betrayal, but beneath it all, a resolve is forming, hard and unyielding. I won't be part of this anymore. I won't be another shadow in Cole's twisted game. I'm done. I walk out of that small, suffocating room without looking back, my heels clicking against the floor with a newfound determination. The hallway stretches out before me, dim and endless, but I don't hesitate. As I pass Cole's office door, I see him through the glass, still in the frame of that other room on the feed, but also somehow here, a ghost of himself in my peripheral vision. He's in the hallway now, stepping out just as I reach the elevator. His voice cuts through the silence, softer than before, almost pleading. Jasmine, wait. Let me explain. But I don't stop. I can't. His words are just another layer of manipulation, another attempt to pull me back into his web. I keep moving, my hand slamming against the elevator call button with more force than necessary. The doors slide open with a quiet ding, and I step inside, refusing to meet his gaze as the steel closes between us. The ride down feels like a descent into a different life. Each floor ticks by, a silent countdown to my escape, and through the glass panel of the elevator, the city lights blur into streaks of color. Tears sting my eyes, hot and unrelenting, as the weight of everything crashes over me. I'm walking away from decades of my life, decades spent building a world with Cole, even if it was a hollow one. I've been his silent partner, his polished accessory, his unwitting pawn. And now, I'm leaving it all behind. The tears fall freely, tracing paths down my cheeks, but I don't wipe them away. They're proof of something, maybe pain, maybe relief. I'm not sure yet. All I know is that I can't go back, not after what I've seen, not after what I've done. When the elevator reaches the ground floor, I step out into the empty lobby, the marble floors reflecting my distorted image under the harsh fluorescent lights. The security guard doesn't look up as I pass, and I'm grateful for the anonymity of this moment. The cool night air hits me like a slap as I push through the glass doors, the city sprawling before me in all its restless chaos. I stand there for a second, just breathing, letting the noise of distant traffic and the faint hum of neon signs wash over me. It's overwhelming, this sudden freedom, but it's mine. For the first time in years, I'm not tethered to Cole's expectations, to his rules, to his games. And yet, the weight of what I've lost, what I've chosen to leave, sits heavy on my chest, a bittersweet ache I can't shake. I know I can't stay here, lingering outside his empire of glass and steel. I need to move, to put distance between me and this place. So I head back to our apartment one last time, hailing a cab to take me there through the labyrinth of late-night streets. The ride is quiet, the driver's radio murmuring softly in the background as I stare out the window, lost in thought. When I finally step into the familiar space of our high-rise home, it feels different, like a museum of a life I no longer belong to. The glass walls still frame the city below, but their beauty feels hollow now, a reminder of how trapped I've been. I move quickly, not wanting to linger in the memories that cling to every corner of this place. I grab a small suitcase from the closet and start packing, my hands moving on autopilot. I leave behind the expensive clothes, the glittering jewelry, all the trappings of a life that was never truly mine, and step out into the crisp night air, ready to embrace a future unburdened by the past. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment if you enjoyed this story. This will help us create more engaging stories for you.